It's Monday, the 9th of August 2021. In today's show, we review Blackpool's dramatic 93rd minute equaliser Ashton Gate on Saturday in the season opener back in the Championship. We also look back at the weekend's home fixture. We look forward to the week's fixtures against Middlesbrough and Cardiff City. I'm John Aspinall, and I can't even read my own writing or speak. Match reaction show: Bristol City 1, Blackpool 1. I think I need my glasses cleaning. I think I need to learn how to type and write words. I need to learn how to speak properly on intros. But apart from that, everything was fine. Welcome, gentlemen. welcome to the stream, everybody. Welcome to the audio pod, and welcome back, Nick. Good to have you back.
It's great to be back and see that things haven't improved on the intro front. We're in the Championship, but it's still non-league intro. Good evening, everyone.
So how have you been, Nick? Are you well from your bout of COVID? Are you all over it?
just about recovered. It wasn't a very enjoyable few weeks, but yeah, over the worst of it now. Thank you. Feeling much better.
Tim, good evening to you in your new crypt that isn't particularly. How can I describe it?
Aesthetically, not aesthetically, is it? It's I tell you, for the benefit of the listeners and the viewers, John was sending me diagrams today about how to put eggshell. That's all I can describe now. It's like egg boxes all the way around my room.
Sound
so that
treatment
the sound is
panels,
a bit better.
Tim.
Yeah, but they look like egg boxes.
He was reverbing all around the room last pod, so I've said put some soft furnishings in there. It's too high tech.
Patreon funds, John.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've offered. I offered to buy, but Mrs. Tim won't allow it, apparently.
Yeah. All I can say is offered to buy me 1,000 egg boxes.
Second hand.
So the acoustics might have been better, but I think I got it right finally. And the aesthetics would have been slightly less.
Yeah. Matt, you're coming live from your. It's not your utility room, is it? But you've got a washing machine on the go.
Yeah, it's called the kitchen, John.
So I thought you would have a mega expensive kitchen. You would have a utility room, you know.
No such.
Tim's
no
got
such
one.
Sort of comforts like that in FY4. I'm lucky that I've got a coal bunker out the back that I'll have to put the coal in later on to heat the house.
you can't burn coal anymore after today's news.
No, not after today's report, of course. No, definitely not. No.
How was your journey back, Matt? After the game,
it was all right. I mean, it was fine. I mean, we had I think the M6 was shut just north of Birmingham or south, but I can't remember now. Junction 8, 9, 10, I think it was anyway. But apart from that little detour, it was as smooth as can be expected, really. So, yeah, not bad. Came through the front door at 9:15, so I can't argue with that.
That's pretty good, actually. That's very good. Well, what about you, Sean? When did you head back?
Yeah, we stayed a bit afterwards. My car was like parked around the corner, but then the police had sort of segregated everyone off, so we had to do about a country's lap tour around the ground to get back to the car. But we ended up staying back for a little bit, and then I got back about 9:45, I think. So again, not too bad, really.
Mine was pretty horrific. I left it Sunday at 11. There was just constant traffic. It took about 5.5, nearly 6 hours to get back. There was a big KFC stop in the middle. Yeah. Anyway, on to the game then. On to the game. So quick thoughts of Ashton Gate. Nick and Tim watched it on the replay the day after, but Sean and Matt and myself went. So, Matt, how did you think the ground fared following its revamp?
Well, it's the first time I've been to Ashton,
weren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Yes, that's right. First time I've been to Ashton Gate, so I had nothing really to sort of go on from a previous visit or anything like that. But you can tell that there's been quite a lot of money spent on it. I actually commented when we went. We were early enough that we went round the ground as much as you could anyway, and it was. It reminded me with all the sort of bars and eateries and all that sort of stuff, a bit like that quadrant area. If you've been into Old Trafford to watch the cricket at all, so there's all that sort of fare there, and it was all a bit sort of pre-season party sort of atmosphere, I guess, for the home fans especially. But it's a very, very smart stadium, and it was definitely up to championship standards. And it's a big city in itself, isn't it? And they've got 20-odd thousand supporters every week, so it sort of befits their, I guess, their town city status really. But it's quite impressive, I thought, really. A good away end, I must admit, in terms of acoustics and such like. Even though that was the oldest part of the ground, I'm led to believe, but it was still up to good scratch as far as an away fan was concerned. I really enjoyed it.
Sean, if you look at the comment from Steve, watching the concourse area was a bit cramped in the away end. I think that was a fairish comment, isn't there? Just a tiny little hut to get a drink in when I first went in. That's where I saw you in that corner.
Yeah.
I mean, the heavens literally opened, didn't they?
Yeah, because when we were walking down, as soon as we came out of the pub, it just started absolutely washing it down, and then you get to that point where you're that drenched that you just like, oh, fuck it, we'll just carry on anyway and just go in. But I was absolutely drenched when we got in. But I mean, it's a nice ground, and the two tiers where the dugout stuff are is really nice and stuff. And obviously you've got a couple of screens in the ground and stuff, and they were showing the replays of the game and stuff and events, weren't they? Because obviously there was a couple of offside calls and things like that you could kind of look at straight away, which was quite handy. But yeah, it's a nice ground. I mean, we took a really, really good following, and everyone was really up for it, so that always helps, I think.
Yeah. So what did you two get up to before the game? Any straight to the
so I was going to say mine was a last minute job. I wasn't originally going to go, and then my mate ended up having to self isolate, so I took his ticket and sort of drove down with a group of us and set off about 6:30, got down there probably about 11:30ish, went into it was near like this dock bit, and there was a couple of pubs there, so we went into this Nova Scotia hotel, but we went to this other one originally.
I was in there.
The Nova Scotia. Yeah, we sat outside on the benches, but we went round to this cottage inn or whatever it was initially, and it was just a bit crap, and they were really slow at serving and stuff, so we went round to there, and then we ended up going to the Tobacco Lounge or something like that it was called, and it was basically like a big all undercover beer garden. That's where most people tended to congregate, I think, before they went into the ground. So we went into there afterwards and then made our way around when it was absolutely pissing it down.
Quite a funny story in the Nova Scotia place. I was just about to sit down on this table, and there was a lad there on his own. I got chatting to him here. He's a Blackpool fan. Got his name. Sorry, mate. I should give you a shout because he recognised me from the pod actually. So I was going, yeah, no autographs. Go on, buy me a drink if you want. But was his name Taylor? Oh, really bad with names. But he was a paramedic, and he was telling me a story that he's been giving COVID jabs to people, and he saw 2 or 3 days after the playoff final, 2 days after the playoff final, a guy coming towards him or to the area where they were working, and he had a Lincoln shirt on, and he said to his colleague, funnel them my way, funnel that guy my way. So anyway, this guy with the Lincoln shirt on comes on, so he's going, all right, what have you been up to? He says, you all right? He said, well, a bit disappointed from the football. He said, oh, wow, what happened? Playing dumb. He says, oh, yeah, we got beaten in the playoff final. He said, oh, right, yeah. So he was having a bit of chat with him, and he said, just before he was about to give him his jab, oh, yeah, and by the way, I'm a Blackpool fan. Jab, have a bit of that. That'll take the pain away. Yeah, quite a funny story. But yeah, it's a very, very civilised Tim Bristol. Shame you couldn't make it.
I know.
For all your candour.
It was it was a bit of a sorry effort.
No fieldings at Ashton Gate. You what?
It was a bit of a sorry effort, really. I'm blaming Elliot, because if Elliot was going, then I didn't want to drive down on my own. That was basically what it boiled down to. And I thought I could coax him into it right until the last minute, but he wasn't having it.
Why not? Could he just not be bothered?
I think he'd had a tough week at work and just fancied chilling out, really. So we'll make up for it, though.
Well, Tim, you missed an absolute treat. 93rd minute goal right in front of the away fans.
It's what away games are made of for isn't it, really? That exactly that type of situation.
Yeah. I won't go on about it too much, though, Tim. Don't worry. Right, let's go on to the game. Starting 11. Blackpool lined up like this: Chris Maxwell, Callum Connolly, Rich Keogh, James Husband, Luke Garbutt, Reece James, Grant Ward, CJ Hamilton, Tyrese John Jules, Keshi Anderson, and Jerry Yates, with Grimshaw, Casey, Spud, Antwi, Sonny Carey, Josh Bowler, and Shane Lavery on the bench. Tim, how did that compare to our little pick?
Well, I think, to be fair, we
got the formation wrong as well, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that those players would have suited our formation better than trying to shoehorn Conley in as a right back, which he clearly isn't. But from my initial thoughts were the one that probably I think we got the inkling he was going to start, didn't we, on Friday after we'd done the pod? It was Reece James coming into midfield when it became apparent that, because there was some suggestion Stuart might make it, wasn't there? They obviously didn't want to risk him. And then probably the other one that came in who we weren't really thinking would start is Tyrese John Jules, who I thought he might start in sub first game, but clearly he had faith in him and went with him probably as against Lavery, probably who would have been the other option up there. I think, if I'm being honest, I think Marv can look at that and think he's a bit unlucky not to get a start. I think, but he probably thought Keogh's experience is what he needed first away game, and but I still think that three and then the two wing backs would have worked better for us. I think you get more out of Garbutt that way, and I think the defence would have probably looked a bit more balanced. But yeah, it's a strong team and an attacking team for an away game as well. I thought we had plenty of options on that with that starting 11 to get forward and to get a goal.
Sean, let's come over to you next on A, the formation, and B, the personnel. Tyrese John Jules, fortunate to be starting as Tim suggested there. And what did you think of the starting formation at 4-4-2? Because didn't really create much, did we, in the first half?
All the second, really, until obviously Lavery and Bowler came on. I think we went a bit too cautious, but it's under Matt's washing machine. Yeah, it's going a bit. I think we went a bit too. Yeah.
That's the dishwasher. The washing machine hasn't even started yet.
They will have to use some patron funds to build Matt a utility room.
Yeah, I think with I think we went a bit too cautious, but I think it's understandable. We're kind of sounding out where we are in the league. I think we didn't really know what to expect, because obviously as much as you hype yourselves up, once you come up to this level, you never really know until you start playing that first game where exactly you match up against teams like this. I thought they were really well drilled off the ball. And obviously in the opening stages in particular, we were a bit sloppy in possession, and it was the second balls, I think, for me that were the most frustrating thing. And I think that was down to the fact that we didn't have that extra body in midfield to give us a little bit of extra protection, because obviously they had two really good central midfielders in there, Matty James and Andy King. Bloody hell, Matt.
I've muted him.
So yeah, I think we could have done with that third body in midfield perhaps, but I can understand why he's gone the way he did, to be honest.
Tim, Nick, over to you. Based on your limited knowledge of what you've seen, kind of pre-season, what was your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, wasn't massively surprising. When you look at who's out injured, certainly for the centre of the park, no Stewart and no Dougal, so we're limited there, and we know we need a right back, so there's limited options there as well. I did wonder whether Lavery might start rather than Tyrese John Jules. And possibly Marvin, but like Tim Dad and I'd said the same to you just before we came on air tonight, that he's probably gone with Keogh for his experience. He's played a lot of football at this level. It's the first game of the season, away from home, decent crowd in, so he's probably thought, Keogh's been there, seen it, done it a lot of times, hasn't he? Which is probably why he went with that option.
Matt, has the spin cycle finished yet?
It's now finished, mate. Yes, indeed. I think we're all good to go now.
So, how do you think what did you think of the lineup, and how do you think Blackpool started the game?
Well, as far as the lineup is concerned, I think my only surprise was that John Jules was really starting. There was always going to be a few square pegs in round holes, I guess, with Stewart and Dougal missing and one thing and another. But I thought he might have just gone like sort of just Yates up on his own, really, with maybe Anderson sort of somewhere behind him, and made us a little bit more solid like that. So it was a bit of a surprise that he was starting, and how we started for the first 5-10 minutes or so. I think we were pretty good. We seemed to be composed on the ball and not really sort of penetrating, but getting the ball under control and getting a few good early touches for everybody. And we didn't sort of look out of place or nervous or anything like that. So it was quite a nice, confident start to hopefully what will be a decent campaign for us. But given that there was a few, obviously that 11 as such hasn't, they haven't started together this year in any way, shape or form. So it was a decent start for us. And there's one or two players that struggled a wee bit as the game went on. And overall, though, in the first quarter of the game, I thought we were certainly on a par with our Bristol opponents.
Tim, do you think there was a marked difference between League One and the Championship in the first kind of 20 minutes of the game that you saw in the opening exchanges?
I think what you tended to find with the teams at this level is that there's less and less. It's pretty obvious statement really, but there's less and less weaknesses around the pitch, isn't there? They're all athletes. They've all got a good touch, and your mistakes are more likely to get punished. So I think losing possession poorly can be quite. It can have a massive impact on the game. I felt in the opening salvos, we kept trying to get it to CJ, but we never put the ball where we should put it. Sort of 2 yards in front of him to run onto. He either seemed to be able to track back, to halt his run, or it was played too far. It was played out of play, whatever it might have been. But we've got to get better. If we want him to succeed at this level, we've got to play to his strengths and his.
We were
pace
quite sloppy in position. Yeah, we were quite sloppy.
His pace isn't going to be quite as dramatically different at this level as against the League One. So the ball to him has to be right. He hasn't. If he's having to cover up a poor pass to him, then his effectiveness is going to be diluted massively. So. I agree with Matt. I think we started well, but I thought we did as the game went on that first half, give possession away perhaps a little bit too easily, too often.
Nick, do you think I'm just trying to rack my brain. There was a few balls that went astray to CJ, and were they coming from the right hand side? The reason I asked this, just look at Tom Johnson's comment. Bumped into Tom after the game. Good to meet you, Tom. Can we stop this Connolly, isn't it, right back stuff? Sean Barker and Baptiste weren't traditionally right backs, and they played great there. It's not like he's in goal or playing up front. To address that.
Yeah, it's early days, isn't it? And like I say, I've not seen a lot of pre-season. But it's obviously not his preferred position, so it's going to be difficult, I think, until we do get a recognised right back in there. Listening to it on the radio, sounded like first 10, 15, we'd started pretty well and we were matching them. But then as the half went on, it just sounded like they were pressing us and we weren't as comfortable on the ball. I think the thing in this division will be you won't get as much time on the ball, and particularly if we're playing out from the back, you're going to get that press probably a lot quicker than you get in League One. And it just sounded like we were being forced into a few mistakes. And in the commentary, there wasn't a lot talking about Blackpool being on the ball for any length of time. Somebody'd get the ball and then it'd be given away. And it was more and more Bristol City were on the ball. And whilst not necessarily creating loads and loads of clear-cut chances, you just got this feeling that they're getting a bit more into it. And I wasn't massively surprised from listening to it when they got their goal, because I think we were just struggling. I think we were really, really missing Dougal and Stewart in the middle, who are probably our two of our most comfortable players on the ball. And they can deal with it under pressure, in those tight spaces, even there's 2 or 3 players around them. And I think with Reece James, he was struggling a bit with that from the sound of it. And Ward wasn't being as effective as when he's got either Kenny or Stewart alongside him. And I think that was having a big impact then. It wasn't sticking up top. We weren't getting it to CJ in the right areas. And then they were just gradually getting more and more of the ball.
I think, Sean, it was kind of inevitable when they scored. They've had 3, not massive chances, but they've had 3 good chances, one after the other in the first half. I'm just looking through the Twitter feed now. There was that save. 20 minutes, Andreas Wyman backstick over 23 minutes when Maxwell turned one round his near post. That was another good save. Andy King nodded wide. Rob Atkinson as well had a chance, and wasn't a massive surprise to me when Chris Martin nodded one in just before half time. It was coming.
Yeah, I think it was. And obviously Nick pointed out there about missing Dougal and Stewart that can play in tight areas. I think that's the difference in the step up in class. I think I said it after the game, really, is that it's kind of, that was the luxury of having League One, where it's kind of a given in the Championship that everyone is like that naturally on the ball. They're able to play in tight spaces. That's what you have to be able to play in that division. And then you're thinking about, as well as that, you're thinking of the other times in the game where you're playing out from the back. I know Tom obviously said that he doesn't think he's a right back. Sorry, he thinks Connolly's a right back, but I think with the way we want to play, you have to have your wing backs naturally wide when you're playing out from the back to offer that space on the right and left hand side, and I don't think that they offer that. I think that you've got Garbett standing naturally wide, and then you've got sort of Connolly sitting quite narrow when we're trying to play out from the back and build from the back. And when that's happening, you're not opening up gaps for people, and you're not able to actually play out from the back naturally. And then when that's happening, you kind of inviting pressure on yourselves. I think playing Connolly at right back invites pressure, and I think that they saw that, and a lot of their attack in terms of pace down the wing came through that side because they saw it quite early on that was going to be the case. And like you say with the goal, I think that obviously I think the frustration for me was that it was kind of a defensive error that caused the goal rather than it just being a good goal. Obviously, Chris Martin found space quite well, but I think Keogh sort of quite naively stepped out at last minute, thinking that he was on, when you could clearly see that we weren't going to be able to play an offside trap at the point that he was at when he looked across, and then he sort of stood still and called for offside, and Chris Martin's got a free header, and then you've got Connolly kind of coming in too late to do anything with it. So that was the frustration for me with the goal, was that you could see Bristol City were playing really good football, and if we'd have conceded a goal based off the back of that, fair enough. But you can't have errors like that, because in this division, you make an error like that, it's a goal straight away. You might get away with it last season, but you're not going to get away with it now.
Mm-hmm. Matt, you're nodding your head there. Richard Keogh, you kind of expect a bit more from him, don't you? A man of his experience.
Yeah, and it was a little bit frustrating because obviously it was just on the stroke of half time, wasn't it? And I suppose Connolly was unfortunate that arguably Bristol City's best player wasn't even in the starting 11 at first, was it? Casey Palmer. I thought when he came on, they looked all of a sudden a different. Well, yeah. I wouldn't say all of a sudden because he only came on in the first 9 or 10 minutes, but he was the one where everything was sort of, he had the creativity in the Bristol City lineup. And unfortunately for Connolly, he just seems to be on his side of the pitch all the time. So, he had a bit of a tough exposure to him, really. But yeah, the goal itself, it was easily defendable, but we just did what he did. He stepped out, and Connolly wasn't quick enough to sort of cover for him, really. And somebody like Chris Martin is as longer in the tooth as he is now. He's still a quality finisher, and he took that chance really well. And it was a bit of a kick in the Watsits, really, wasn't it? Just to concede just before half time, because if we'd have got to half time at 0-0, then as a home team, all of a sudden they'd have started twitching a bit, wouldn't they? So, a bit disappointing, but it was coming, really, realistically.
So Tim, Blackpool started the second half. Grant Ward shifts one onto his right foot and curled an effort wide. I was just trying to pinpoint in my head who was playing all these misplaced passes in the first half, and it was Grant Ward. I do remember now. He didn't have quite a poor game by his high standards. Yeah,
I think I just remembered that, from obviously when I watched it back, it seemed to be, there was a tactic to get it out to CJ for obvious reasons. But it was wasteful, wasn't it? And I think somebody said in the comments, I think it was Tom, that he thought CJ had a poor game, but I just thought that I don't think we gave him the opportunities either. So I have some sympathy with the observation from Tom, but when the ball's played behind you, far, or straight into touch, what you meant to do with it. And just going back to a comment Max mentioned when he mentioned that Casey Palmer, Jesus, did he put some tackles in? I've got to say, he really, really impressed me with the way he fairly, but very, very, he's very, very physical in his tackling. I think he left John Jules gritting his teeth on a few occasions, didn't he? With the pace with which he came in and let him know that he was there. So I must admit, I liked him as a player. But and I love Garbutt, but I always think Garbutt when he's playing in that wing back role looks a lot better than if he's playing in like flat back four. And he's had he's had quite a good start to the season. I think he looked okay to me on Saturday again, and I thought he had a decent game against City. So that's encouraging that he's showing that he's still got the ability to play at this level and play and make a really good contribution.
Okay, let's. Tim's just mentioned him there. Tyrese, John, Jules, Nick. Let's have a quick chat about his contribution. Rabbit in the headlights springs to mind for me.
Yeah, well, obviously, like I say, I was listening to it, but then I've been able to watch most of it back yesterday, and yeah, it'll probably take him time to settle, won't it? The same way it did a bit with Sims. I know Sims scored a couple on his debut, but to be fair, my mum could have scored them. And like Tim's just said, he got a couple of crunching tackles on him, didn't he? Which is, welcome to the Championship. He showed some good touches, but similar with CJ, I don't think we necessarily got the ball to him in the right places to see the best of him. So I'm sure he's got talent. He wouldn't be at a club like Arsenal if he didn't have. So I'm sure he'll learn from it, and he's at a good club, isn't he? To be able to develop, we saw the way Sims developed in the time he was with us, and if John Jules does the same, then I think we'll have a heck of a player on our hands as we go through the season.
So Sean, just coming to you next. The change was made on 73 minutes bowler for John Jules, and I was clamouring for a substitution about 60 to 65 minute mark of the game because we just weren't creating anything, were we?
Yeah, I think obviously we'd gone quite cautious, I think, and that's understandable. I think when we've not got that fit midfield in there, they kind of make everything tick over in terms of the playing on the front foot and pressing from the front. Because obviously the best way we play is always defending from the front. And I think with Tyrese John Jules, I actually thought he did all right for what he was fed. As Steve said there, the service to him was really poor. We've clearly just kind of we basically put him in the team to be a target for long balls and to get us out from the high press that Bristol City had. And I thought he won a few headers quite well, to be honest. And again, he was kind of feeding off scraps. And it's hard. I think it'd be harsh to judge him on any of that because I just think that we kind of hung him out to dry a bit with the way we were playing. But as you were saying, when we've not got that natural whiff coming from the fullbacks, obviously with Garbutt it was a bit one-dimensional in terms of that left-hand side. Most of our play was coming from that area. And they knew that, and that's why they attacked on the left-hand side in counteracting to that. But we just needed to play from the front and set the tone from the front. And obviously, Shane Lavery does that. That's what he was doing throughout the game against City. That's what he did at the back end of the Morecambe game as well. And obviously, Bowler as well, just natural pace. Someone that just kind of will front up the defender and just go at them every time. But you just need that kind of added dimension at the end of the game. And it's good that if you're thinking, if we get a right wing back in and we've got our squad up to full strength, and you've got these players that you can bring off the bench to give you that added dimension when the game's sort of coming to a close and you need a goal. And it's nice that we're able to switch it up like that. But obviously, if we'd have started the game that way, then it could have been a whole different story. But it was just neat. We needed to put the pressure on at the front because they were really easily penning us in because they're so good on the ball in midfield that they could have just, if we hadn't have made those changes, they'd have probably seen the game out really comfortably, just playing it out through midfield and winning the ball.
Matt, so the subs came on, was it 73 minutes, and there was almost an instant return 6 minutes later when Callum Conley, of all people, he's got himself up front and he's smashed a great shot against the right upright, and it was a marked change in Blackpool's fortunes in the game and our penetration once the change had been made.
Yeah, and I think it sort of coincided with Nigel Pearson's what seemed to be sort of fairly negative changes as well, really. He seemed to think that, it was just a matter of seeing the game out and putting another midfielder in for them and taking Palmer off, who was, like we'd mentioned before, he was most definitely the best player on the pitch as far as I could see. But yeah, the last 15 minutes or so, we just turned the screw a little bit, and I think he just gave us a bit of confidence getting that. That was off a sort of a free kick, if memory serves me, when Connolly hit the post, a bit of a scramble, and it came out to him. And then obviously Bowler was involved a bit more, and it didn't take him long to get involved with just putting a couple of balls over the top. And then obviously when Lavery came on, it was just a totally different Blackpool the last 10 minutes, and Bristol were, I wouldn't say they were all at sea, but they were struggling to cope with us, and it was good to see. And it was just then you were just watching the clock, because obviously, 10 minutes to go, you just wonder whether you're going to run out of time. And crikey, did we time it well? But yeah, it was encouraging to see that when I saw Bowler play at Morecambe, and I don't know, it was one of those where I looked at him and I just thought, I'm not so sure. And it's difficult in pre-season, isn't it, whether holding things back or whatever. But what impressed me was he looked and seemed quite intelligent in what he was doing. He could see the ball to play over the top to both Yates and Lavery. He made the run across the midfield a couple of times, and which obviously ultimately led to the goal as well. So, yeah, reasons to be cheerful, as the song goes, for the last 10 minutes.
Tim, let's come over to you then. Shane Lavery on 80 minutes, replacing CJ Hamilton, and it was just non-stop action as soon as he came on.
He looks a real fine. He looks a real fine, doesn't he? I mean, I think he impressed us all against City with his direct play, and
we did actually say on the preview show, if you remember, he's done enough to start. If you remember,
well, I think he should have started. To be honest, I think if there was a mistake made in the formation, I think there's two potential. One is whether Ekpiteta should start instead of Keogh, and I think Lavery has. I mean, he's I thought he'd done enough on Tuesday to get the nod, and obviously he didn't, and he's come off the bench and made a massive difference, and ultimately got us the point with his finish. But I think he excites me. I mean, I remember we were sat in the M block for the Burnley game. We were saying then how much of all the new players that had come in, he was the one that looked like he had something about him, and I think him and Yates together could be a right handful for opposition defences.
Sean, talk us through the goal. And there was just before the goal, he's burst into the box, hasn't he, on 84 minutes, and played one into Jerry Yates, and Yates should have done better. Really blazed it over, and again, Jerry's flat to deceive pre-season. He's taken that form in today, hasn't he? You expect him to hit the target there at least, make the goalie work.
Yeah, I think he seems to be a player that kind of sort of feels their way into a season, I guess, because obviously he was like that at the start of the season with us, and I think he was similar with Swindon the season before as well. He kind of feels his way into a season, but it seemed like they were really struggling when we turned them in behind from their defence, and they didn't seem to be able to cope with that. And I think the fact as well that when the two players came on, Bowler and Lavery, they were constantly changing positions. It was very fluid in that front line. It was sort of, you weren't statically making the same runs each time. It was sort of very off the cuff, and when that happens, it's hard for people to track the runners. And obviously later on when we come to the goal, that's exactly what happened. That's how we found our goal, and it was similar again there. And it's that fluidity that you want in that. Everyone, I like the idea of having your two inside forwards and a striker that will just constantly interchange in the front three. And I think that that's a good way of doing things going forward. If we're going to play against stronger opposition, making sure that they don't have they don't know what's coming next because you're constantly changing up your line of attack, then I think that's the way to go forward. And obviously the last 10 minutes, we were all over him with that.
Nick, just look at the comment from Matt Johnson. That's a decent point. Yates looked far more confident with Lavery next to him, and it kind of rejuvenated him, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Yeah, we just looked at, like the guys who said, we just looked a different side all of a sudden, didn't we? They were on the back foot, and we were giving them something to think about with a bit of sustained pressure and chances for the first time in the game. And it just makes such a difference, doesn't it, when you've got a couple of players with that movement, and certainly with Lavery, the way he's just prepared to run at defences, it, like we saw against Man City, it just puts them on the back foot and they start to panic. And like I say, all of a sudden we just look like a different side, and deservedly in the end, got our goal.
Matt, let's come to you then with the goal. Great ball in from Josh Bowler. Good work from Keshi and Garbutt in the build-up. Nice one-touch stuff, wasn't it? And pandemonium in the way end.
It was indeed. It was. It was. I mean, it was a really good goal, good team goal. I suppose a special mention to Keshi Anderson, really, because he was having to sort of play left midfield, wasn't he? And it's obviously not his preferred. I don't think it's his preferred position.
It was annoying me that scene.
Yeah. Well, it was annoying because at the first substitution, I think Bowler came on, and then he actually played in the middle for about 2.5 minutes, and then he got moved out again. But I mean, I thought he did pretty well considering that wasn't his sort of preferred position, and it was a clever pass by him, wasn't it, to release Bowler? But equally, it was a great run by Bowler to come on from the right hand side into the left hand side of the area, and then it was just a case then of whether I'm going to say it, the Bowler could deliver, and he did. And I'll finish it off with, and Lavery got his maiden goal. Cricket analogies all round.
I don't get that.
No, well, probably 75% of the audience won't.
Well, what I liked
was,
about
it was.
Sorry, go on, Matt.
That's harsh.
We're very lowbrow here, as Matt.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yes.
But regarding the goal, I've just watched it, as I'm sure everyone else has, multiple times on replay. One thing that stuck out for me was Lavery was quite away. He was more or less on the edge of the box when Bowles picked up the ball, and he's just used him. I think it's pure instinct. He's absolutely put the afterburners on and sprinted to the near post with no inkling whether that ball's going to be delivered there or not. And it was at pace, wasn't it? And it was a tidy finish, wasn't it? If you watch it closely, I think it was the inside of his left foot. Very easy to get that wrong.
Yeah, I'll continue. It was a tidy little finish, and I think that's what you get. What we're going to get, obviously, with him is it's just that 10-yard pace. He's going to beat a lot of centre halves at any level. If you're that quick, and he's sort of. I was trying to describe him to a guy at work today. I said he's like his sort of stature is like a bit like Wayne Rooney, isn't he? He's quite sort of bulldoggy, sort of, but you can see it in his thighs. He's got like Chris Hoy type thighs, hasn't he? So he's got some pace in there, definitely. And I think with him and Yates and one or two others involved in whatever front system we play, there's optimistic things can come from it. Really, it's just whether. He's going to be a bit of an impact player, whether that's how we're going to get the best out of him or whether he is due to get a start. I'm assuming he's probably going to start on Wednesday, so we might see what happens there, really.
He looks like he's got the energy to keep it up all game, though.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of Yates in that he's got his fitness levels seem to be at another level in that, Yates, you see Yates running, he never seems to get out of breath and just goes at it and goes at it and goes at it. And I think he's very much made out the same ilk, to be honest. And I think somebody sort of endorsed what I said in the comments. If you've got those two up front, as a defender, you're going to hate playing against them, hate it. And I can see them making a really, really good partnership.
Sean, as for the goal when it hit the back of the net, I think the phrase is "it's all going off."
Limbs.
So we were at the back, so I went with Hoggy and a couple of our mates, and as the goal goes in, I've just swan dived onto my mate because obviously I'm probably not going to get into away ends and home ends as much as I'd probably like to in the future. So it's nice
making the
to
most
sort of
of
have
it.
those moments exactly. And I turn to my left, and there's this Hoggy shaped. There's a picture on the freeze frame of the goal, and there's literally all of us stood there celebrating, and there's just this big hole where Hoggy should be, and he's just collapsed about 4 rows, drum and all. Drum's gone through his head. He's ripped his skin of his drum. on his head, and it's just it was funnier afterwards because he acted really shocked and surprised as if he hadn't just put his head through a skin on his drum. But so he's gone about 4 rows. There's random people sort of just picking each other up. It's that 30 seconds afterwards when everyone's like just helping each other get back up. You've just like accidentally like elbowed some 80-year-old bloke or whatever in the stand. You don't even know who he is. It was absolutely. It was mental, but you could see it. You were like, we were getting into that 90-minute. You were seeing Lavery starting to make these runs. You sort of like, this is our moment. We're going to do something here. It's kind of that you always feel like it's coming before it comes. One of those moments, and it was when it happened. I mean, it was just brilliant. And obviously, you've seen some of the videos on Twitter and stuff of the reaction afterwards. It seemed to have gone viral of Bristol City fans getting a bit in the left-hand corner who were, I must admit, they weren't the nicest group of people that I've ever met, to be honest, the way out either. But it was just
they literally all drink cider as well, don't they? Don't know if you noticed that, Matt. There's cider on for sale everywhere in and around the ground.
Well, I didn't touch on it. We were at the Bedminster Cricket Club earlier on, and there was definitely lots of cider on show there. Just talking about their fans, did anybody notice the rail seating in the far corner?
Yeah, I noticed that, Matt, at half time. I was like squinting. It's like, why is that different?
Yeah, so they've got like over the corner flag, isn't it, really, which is like the worst place that you want to be as a fan. And annoyingly as well, or good for an away sport, I suppose, is that it's under the part of the stand where there's actually no sort of, almost no roof. So there's no acoustics to carry forward there, singing and all the rest of it, which is a bit of a shame, really, because I'm a big advocate of rail seating and safe standing. So it'll be interesting to see whether in time they move it behind the net and further.
Were they actually using it as that? Because I know they used it for the rugby, but I wasn't sure whether they were using it for football.
Yeah, definitely were. Yeah, absolutely. So I digress anyway, John.
That was kind of that. No, it's a good point. That's kind of their popular end, I guess. But yeah, wasn't it just great to be back at a football league game and just the whole going to the ground and seeing people and avoiding people getting through, getting a pie, the smells, the sounds. It was fantastic being back, wasn't it?
Yeah,
definitely. I feel really, really jealous now.
Neil Critchley giving it limbs as well on the touch line as well.
Yes,
video afterwards.
Have you seen that video right at the beginning? The some Bristol fan goes, shit.
I thought I was the only one that noticed that, Tim. Clearly not.
That's great.
Matt Johnson just said I was about 6 seats to the left of Sean and Hoggy bruised ribs all the way in the away end.
I was going to say, all my legs, I've got bruises and stuff because I was all over the place and I tried to drive. I think I cramped up about 8 times on the motorway home.
Yeah, it's another reason to have safe standing, isn't it? You see, you don't get safe standing with the seats that take skin off your shins.
Max says Matt's the men's thighs expert, and
Phil watching a lot of the Olympics.
Phil also appreciates your cricket chat there, Tom.
There you go. Matt. You see, a well-educated man is Phil, like myself.
Yeah. Right. Let's move on to player ratings. We're dragging on a bit now. I've been frantically typing some of the new players' names in, so let's just get cracking. Let's start with you, Nick. Chris Maxwell.
I thought some of his distribution perhaps wasn't up to his usual high standards, but made a decent save down to his right in the first half. I'm not sure there's much he could have done with the goal, really. So I think overall I will say 7 out of 10.
Okay. Callum Connolly, Sean. Should be interesting.
This is a hard one because it's like I just don't. It's hard to rate him because I like Cal Connolly and I was wanting to play centre half at some point in his life. I beg that he plays centre half, but at the end of the day, he had that chance. He tried his best. Obviously, some people thought he was at fault for the goal, perhaps, but I think it was kind of just miscommunication from Keogh that sort of left Connolly unawares, and he was up against their best player. And at the end of the day, he did Casey Palmer as much as he looked lively. Did he created one chance, perhaps, in the game in terms of off that side? So as much as I don't think he ever really got turned in behind. It was just that he looked uncomfortable where he was. He kind of was a bit wary of what his positional sense. So we'll give him a 6. I just think it's hard to rate him at the moment.
Yeah. Richard Hansall says give everyone a 6. Not a bad shout, actually. I think there'll be more of the 6 for this next player. Matt, I want you to do James Husband.
Yeah, I thought he had a decent game. He seems to have slotted into this left-hand centre-half slot pretty well, doesn't he, really, over the last few months of the season, and obviously on Saturday. And, just a decent display. I think also, he was probably guilty of a bit of poor distribution, much like probably everybody in the back four, quite frankly. But, solid enough. And he did his usual sort of grabbing a few cheap free kicks off the opponents as well, which was always good to see and frustrate the home fans. So a 6+.
From the international, what was it? The international
Absolutely.
fielding player
scoring system.
Oh, how we've missed that.
I've forgotten about that. We really are back now.
International fielding scoring system.
Oh, it's going to be used plenty this season. I can promise you.
As long as there's more pluses than minuses, hopefully.
Yeah. Right, Tim, over to you. Luke Garbett.
Yeah, I thought he had quite a decent game, Luke. Probably not as I said. I never think he's quite as effective as when he's able to play a little bit further up the pitch. But I'm going to go for a 7.
Just a 7. He's done that on purpose. Nick, Reece James. Hard one to score this.
Yeah. We've not done Keogh, have we?
Sorry, yeah. Go on, do Keogh then. Yeah.
6.
Keogh.
6 minus.
Reece James, then Sean.
5. I thought he looked a bit lost. I think, like we were saying about the playing out from the back kind of thing, and that's why we kept playing it out to the wingers. Normally, you see our wing backs spread out wide, and if Chris Maxwell lobs the ball out wide, it goes to one of our wing backs because Dougal and Stewart are normally there as a big option. They're showing for the ball. I don't think Reece James showed for the ball because I think he was quite worried that he was just going to instantly lose it. I just don't think he coped with the press of Bristol City, and I think he kind of hid after quite a while, to be honest. So I'd say a 5.
Yeah, we signed the wrong James brother, didn't we?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Kenny Dougal in my list. It wasn't him. CJ Hamilton, Matt.
Yeah, it just wasn't his day, was it? As Tim mentioned before, the balls weren't certainly getting to him. I think early on, when there were a few sort of crossfield passes were in his general direction, I don't think the deluge helped really because the ball just skipped on and went away from him a couple of 3 times. Yeah, a bit of a frustrating sort of day for him, really. So I think you're going to give him a 5, really.
Hard to argue. Tim, Grant Ward, similar score, I'd guess.
Yeah, not one of his better games. I think it was mentioned in the comments that perhaps he was having to cover for Reece more than Reece James more than he should have been doing. There might be some value in that because if he's able to push on and leave the defensive duties to others, I think that's when we do see the best out of him on the ball, don't we? So I'm not going to be too harsh. I think it's a 6.
Nick, Tyrese John Jules.
Yeah, I think like Sean said earlier, we didn't particularly give him much chance with the balls we were playing to him, and he did have a couple of tackles on him that, to be fair, were fair tackles. There was one where he went down, and I thought he was injured, but he managed to shake it off. Showed some nice touches, but I don't think he'll go higher than a 6, to be honest.
I think the positive is he looks a better player than Sims in his early games, isn't he? So if we do see that improvement, that trajectory,
he's certainly got something about him. Yeah, definitely.
Keshi Sean. That's not a new player.
I think his movement was good. I think that again, you kind of feeding off scraps a bit because we didn't really set the tone from the front. So that's where he tends to play best, is when we're sort of winning the ball back in higher up the park, and that's where he really kind of comes alive at that point. And obviously when we made the changes, he was integral in the goal. So I'll say a 6 because obviously over the whole piece he didn't really provide much, but you can see that when we're playing the way that we should be playing, like the last 15 minutes, Keshi's going to be a really important player for us this season.
And from the starting 11, Matt, Jerry Yates. He's not going to get his Jerry chant.
No, and he will do, I'm sure, as time goes on. We hope. Yeah, I mean, when he's starved of possession and no passes get to him, basically, he's half the player that he is, isn't he? But as usual, he works his nuts off and does as much as he can in the circumstances. But it was, a 6 out of 10 performance, really, I guess.
Okay.
Which is, it's harsh to overanalyze, really, first game in, isn't it? Because, there's so many square pegs in round holes and first time they played together and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, we're going to be a bit mean, aren't we, the first game when you think we've got a point away from home. But there we go.
Such is the harshness of the player rating system on the Seasiders podcast. Let's do the final two. Let's do the subs. Tim, you can do them both. Oliver Casey first, and then the main man, Shane Lavery.
Yeah.
You mean Bowler?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say,
Sorry,
excuse me there.
Josh Bowler, Josh Bowler.
Yeah, I think they can both look back at their contributions and know they made it a really big difference. And I would say I'm trying to, and I'm going to keep it real and say I think I'd give them both 7s, and the good 7s, aren't they? The good 7 pluses. I don't think coming off the bench you can sort of start getting 8s and 9s for a cameo. But
who's Josh Bowley?
I know. The other head of the BSA, old school BSA.
He's having a mare.
My brain's looking at Oliver Casey and Josh Bowley at the same time.
Pre-season bongs.
Pre-podcast bongs, yeah.
Pre-podcast bongs even. No, I think both. I think I've given both. I'm looking at overall. I think am I being too harsh with 7s? I think 7s are fair, but they're good.
I'm giving Lavery at least an 8, Tim. At least
I would have said 8, but they weren't on the pitch for long, were they? But when they did came on, they were, like I say, it transformed it for us, didn't it?
So. I tell you what, 7 plus, 7 plus, and but a good 7. And listen, that would have been an 8, if not pushing towards a 9, if he'd been on the pitch longer. He's the player I'm most excited about that we've brought in, and I've had that view since Burnley, and nothing that I've seen has changed it. I want to see him start a game, and I want to see him play up front with Yates and see what that looks like.
Right, man of the match, Nick, over to you.
I think it's probably Lavery. He was, not on the pitch for very long, was he? But he was the difference. We looked a different side when he came on. So I'm going to have to say him, I think.
Sean?
Richard Key. No, Shane Lavery. Definitely Shane Lavery.
Matt?
I'm just going to be different. I thought Luke Garbutt had a pretty good game, personally. He gave a few silly free kicks away like he does, hands on the back, fall over, give a free kick away in a fairly dangerous area. But you could see his quality going forward in the set pieces and crosses. So I thought he, generally speaking, did pretty well, really. So, he was my man of the match.
Tim?
I'm with Matt. I was going to say exactly the same thing. And I don't like giving man of the matches to subs. So I'm going to go with Garbutt. I thought he showed his championship quality on Saturday, and he's going to be a very important player for us this year.
Yeah. I was going to give it to James Husband, but just to annoy Tim, I'm going to give it to Shane Lavery. There was a bit of a delay in him laughing then. Thought he was getting angry. Thought he was getting mad with me.
No. It's just it's a personal thing. That's all. I mean, I think if he come on and scored the winner, I might have given it him.
He might have got an 8.
Yeah, if he'd gone 2 in 10 minutes, yeah.
He's still got the highest score given anybody on the pitch. So
true.
Better not annoy Tim, because there's that sponsors match coming up later on this season. So I'll try and keep in his good books. Right, the week ahead.
There's only so many places around that table, John.
Oh, Tim, I love what you've done with your hair this evening.
I was going to say, I like your T-shirt.
As Owen famously said once, didn't he, Tim? Complimented you on your hair.
Yeah. Felt quite a bit creepy.
We said we're going to mention him again, did we? But it's hard not to. As I said, the weekend, Blackpool versus Middlesbrough on Wednesday. First round of the Carabao Cup, 7:45 kickoff. Who's going? Who isn't? I think I'm going to go now. It's only 15 quid.
I haven't got a ticket yet, but I think I probably will do. It'll be interesting to see what we do for lineup. Will it be wholesale changes? He gave an update on Dougal and Stewart, didn't he? I couldn't remember which one he said might feature possibly on Wednesday, so maybe one of them.
Stewart,
was it
Stewart, I think,
Stewart?
is waiting for the weekend. I saw him in B&M's in Preston yesterday before that announcement came out, and he said he's hopefully fit for the weekend. So
For the weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
so it'll be
a
interesting to see what he does.
exclusive.
Live from
I
B&M.
was actually just following him with a camera the entire time, just getting updates.
What was he buying, Sean?
One plain plastic box for some reason. That was it. There
Can
you
we
go.
read anything into that?
It has been pointed out in the message.
For all his bandages.
We haven't rated Critch.
Very
You
good
didn't-
point.
We haven't, no.
Very good point. Well, I think when you look at the subs, we were all crying out for changes, weren't we? And it happened, and they both had an impact. So and in terms of the lineup, he was a bit limited in what he could have done with the starting 11, probably. So I think overall, I will say an 8+.
Sean.
Yeah, I get why he went cautious, because at the end of the day, if we'd have gone out pressing from the front and then got tanked 4-5-0, like he's on a hard into nothing already. So I get why he started the way he did, and you kind of just want to sound out where we are. And then he's got the subs in that have changed the game. Perhaps they could have come on a bit earlier, but I think he gets a pass for me in terms of the game itself, and then obviously the substitution. So I'll give him an 8 as well.
Matt.
Yeah, likewise. I think, as far as an away result goes, it was perfect, wasn't it, really? I think we'd been really greedy if we were expecting 3 points, given the personnel we had to start and those that were missing. So I think he got his subs perfectly right, didn't he? So, I'll give him a good 8-9 out of 10.
Can I just add that I said 1-1 on the preview show, as did Connor, I believe.
No, I did.
Did you
was
as
me.
well, Matt? Was it you?
Yeah,
we both did, didn't we?
Yeah.
They all changed theirs because they said you done 1-1, and I said I'm sticking with what I think it's going to be, and it's 1-1. Tim, you said we'd get beat 2-0, was it?
2-0, I think I said, yeah. There's a bit of reverse psychology going on with that, though.
It's like betting against Blackpool on the fixed odds coupons, isn't it? And betting
because he wasn't going. He just wanted to see us have a miserable drive home.
We won't mention this again, Tim, I promise.
Oh, please keep it up. I'll make sure I go to the next one, won't it?
I'm not going Wednesday, by the way. I've just entered into very difficult negotiations with the wife to go to Bournemouth.
Oh,
So
no.
I'm sacrificing a Carabao Cup game for that, which I think is fair enough, really.
We've got Gary Taylor, Fletcher's son, on. He's come and joined us.
Yeah, GTF
So he
son.
said.
Welcome.
You've got to take these with a pinch of salt, haven't you? Whether it is actually Fletcher or not. Well, where were we?
The week ahead, yeah. So we've done that,
we-
and we were just doing the Middlesbrough game.
Yes. Sean, are you going in your official accredited capacity, or are you going as a drum busting, limbs moving fan?
Hooligan. Yeah, actually, is a nice one for you. For the next week, I'm not actually officially accredited because we're on the backlog of Dataco accreditations applications for the forthcoming season. So as of at this point in time, I'm not an accredited official EFL journalist, John. So I'm actually just one of the scum like you, one of the peasants in the stands.
Do you want to know what I think? I think this is just a ruse, and that's not actually true. Just to stop us taking the piss out of you with this accredited status. I want to see documented evidence of your lack of accreditation status on my desk first thing in the morning. Before we
Is that
delete
not
that.
double negative, though? It's like, how do you prove a negative?
Quite right, Phil. I agree. Game on.
Phil says sash. So Matt's not going because he's earning some brownie points. Tim, are you going to bother turning up to this one?
I think I will. I think it's I owe it. I owe it to actually deign the ground in my presence. No, I'm looking forward to it. To be fair, I know.
You can't stream it, can you?
No,
stream it.
no.
Either. Like internationally, either there's like no coverage.
Is there no audio one either?
Audio only.
There's audio. There's audio, so it's basically Radio Lancs. But even internationally, there's just no coverage of the cup, which I find a bit bizarre, to be honest. But there you go.
I just think it's not exactly an internationally renowned or nationally renowned.
But it's but the
set of
brand
games
is,
that everyone wants to go to, is it?
It's like but it's because of the sponsor that apparently the sponsor's agreement is that that's the case. But isn't Carabao like a foreign brand anyway? It's about bizarre that you sponsor
an energy drink, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's like it's from abroad, so I'm kind of like, surely you'd want it to be seen more, not hidden away for random FY4 Blackpool fans as if they're going to be buying you drinks.
Tim, maybe we should have instead of a G&T set opposite the Royal Oak with all the letters hanging off, maybe we should have a G and Carabo.
We could.
Vodka and Carabo.
I'll have to decide where the pre-match drinks are for this one, won't we? I don't know. We'll speak off air.
I think maybe one of a bit more salubrious surroundings is our last one. Right, Blackpool versus Cardiff, first home game of the season next Saturday. We'll be doing a proper preview show on Thursday. Sean bothers to turn up. Looks like it's over 10,000 for the first home game of the season, at least 10,000, because Nick, I believe we've sold quite a lot of home tickets. North Stand almost sold out.
Yes, I believe so. And you would expect Cardiff, I don't know how many they've been given, but probably around the 2,000 mark, I would have thought. So it should be a hell of an atmosphere as well. And really, really looking. Obviously, there's Wednesday night, but I think Saturday's the big one, isn't it? Going to be a decent crowd, great atmosphere. And hopefully we get 3 points.
Absolutely. Matt, Kenny Dougal, the neighbour to your parents, is back on the grass, I believe. It was a knee injury he sustained, I read today, and he could feature against Cardiff. Can't come too soon, can it?
No, I think
introduction.
I think if we get obviously Kenny Dougal and Kevin Stewart back in the midfield, and then who knows, we've got Mitchell possibly back as well. We've got Gretson, doesn't seem to be too far behind them as well. So hopefully, fitness wise, things are looking up, and then hopefully, if results go our way in the next few weeks, it gives the manager the right headaches as opposed to just having to find the 11 that will keep the opposition or whatever the case may be. So it's all hopefully looking good, and who knows what the remainder of the transfer window will hold. I think we've got at least 2 or 3 hopefully to bring in. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
Tim, so we've got Gretson out with a shoulder, Matty Virtue with an ACL, Dimitri Mitchell with a knee, and Garen Medine groin. As Matt's just said there, we're hopefully looking to bring 2 or 3 in. I think we have discussed this, haven't we? We need 1 or 2 marquee signings to really raise the quality of the squad. And I think we need to do this business sooner rather than later, because look what happened last year.
I think for me, the 2 positions that are crying out, centre forward and somebody in that number 10 role. I think probably Critch thought he was going to get Embleton, and that doesn't look like that's going to happen. Speaking to a Sunderland fan at the football on Sunday when Blackpool were busy beating the Cods in the 60s walking football tram stop derby, and 5-4. So well done, lads. And sorry,
50s, aren't you? Sorry, go on. Ignore me.
No, so it's the 60s that we're watching. And anyway, the chairman of the club's a Sunderland fan, and he said Embleton's playing really, really well pre-season, and he thinks that they'll.
He's only got a year left to run on his deal, though. He's only got a year left.
Yeah,
so
but he thinks they'll keep. He thinks that they'll keep him. So there'll be too much because Sunderland have lost quite a lot of players, haven't they? So I think they've trimmed the squad. So
Gabriel, then I know you said a number 10. I think right back's more important position to fill.
Yeah, no. To be fair,
yeah,
you're right. You're right. I was a bit remiss there.
I think
that it's more of an attacking midfielder. Literally the Dewsbury Hall type player. That's the type of player that can make a massive, massive difference for us.
When is the Viking back? Phil asked. Phil
promise.
He's
milking it. He's milking it, isn't he, Grayson? Milking it.
He is, isn't he? Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon. He just whacked it against a locker, and he was back to work the same day.
That's what I expected of our Scandinavian brethren, to be fair.
But going back to the Embleton situation, I think there comes a point where you just, I don't know if it's valuation or what, but you wouldn't want to be paying over the odds for him, would you? And I think, with Gabriel, he played yesterday for Forest, didn't he? So whether that's because they're intending to keep him or they're limited in options and haven't got a replacement yet. Again, there comes a point where you've kind of got to go, right, well, and I'm sure they have got a plan B in both of those positions, that if it isn't going to happen, then you look elsewhere and move on to get someone else in. I mean, of the two, I think if we can get Gabriel, it'd be brilliant. But
what's your thoughts briefly? How do you think we'll do with bids for Gabriel and Embleton if they are forthcoming? And do you think we'll be getting any of these ex-players in?
I mean, I wouldn't be paying any more than probably 400 grand for Embleton. I think that as much as obviously he turned up in the big moments, he did flatter to deceive a tiny bit in other games where I felt like perhaps it was running away from him. He kind of fades in and out of games quite a lot. But like I say, Sunderland aren't going to, even if he's on a year's left, Sunderland need to get promoted this year for financial wise. So they're going to keep players and risk the contracts running down anyway if they know that they've got the quality to get them up. And with Gabriel, it seems like Forest are linked with Liam Palmer from Sheffield Wednesday, which I think he's apparently going to be their choice. That Gabriel's then free to leave. That's what Alan Nixon was saying. But I mean, I don't know why they would do that. Aging 29-year-old right back from Sheffield Wednesday is quite slow, to be honest. But that was before the game, obviously, at the weekend, and Forest fans seem to think that Gabriel played quite well, which doesn't really do us a favour fee-wise. But as you say, I'm sure that we do have backup options there. But it's like when people have said kind of you can't replace, you kind of need Ollie Turton almost. It's like we could have replaced Ollie Turton now, but we're not, because we're not going to compromise on quality. I feel like Critchley's really... He's got whatever he wants. He's not going to compromise on that, and he wants that quality. Also, he feels like there's no point almost bringing in a player, which Bielsa and the like are similar that way. They won't bring in a player unless it's the specific one that they want. So,
well, Klopp was the same, wasn't he? And that's probably where his thought process comes from, isn't it? That sort of following that mantra. You'll wait till the transfer window, or wait until next season to get your man.
I think as well, obviously, the loanees from Premier League clubs would probably start to come available next week now that Euro players have come back and getting up to speed. So that's where you'll start to see a lot of movement. I think our number 10 that comes in will be a loanee. I don't think we'll buy a number 10 now if Embleton's not available. I think we do need to buy a right back. But again, if you can bring in a Premier League quality loanee, then at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. So I think we'll see not unveiled next week.
We've definitely not unveiled Messi underneath Blackpool Tower being signed. He's gone to the other tower, has he, in Paris? Is that right?
Hey, wouldn't it be funny if he just signed for the wrong one by mistake?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Right, we'll just close off just before we close off this show, because we're on an hour 10. Time fly when you're having fun. Just this most important bit of business that we need to discuss before we go, and this comes in from Tracy Manson. Do you, Sean, will Hoggy's drum be fixed for Saturday?
I think if it can be asked,
what's the word?
To get it fixed. It was about, he said it's about 40 quid to replace each skin, which I didn't realise it was that much. But I mean, he's done it a few times, so I'm sure it'll be. I know
when BST have paid for a few skins in the past to help him out. So
the Hoggy support fund for when he's twatting his head through drum skins every 5 minutes.
A crowdfunder.
Yeah, crowdfunder for Hoggy's drum.
We definitely need the drum Saturday though, don't we? Because that North Stand's going to be rocking.
But it's sold out, hasn't it?
I'll say I'll have to get a ticket in the east or in the west even if I don't get in the press box. So
I'm gonna get to the ground. Sorry, Sean. I was going to say I'm definitely going to get to the ground for about 2:00 on Saturday because it was bedlam the last time we had the North Stand open with it being half filled. So I dread to think what the turnstile situation is going to be like on Saturday. So rather than queuing up all the way to the tower or whatever, I'm taking no chances personally.
No, it's a decent shout. Right, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening. Just very quickly, I just want to thank all the Seasiders podcast patrons. I don't do that enough. Thank you very much, guys. Your support is greatly appreciated. Look at that banner going across the bottom, patreon.com/Seasiderspod if you do want to help us out. We may even buy Hoggy a new skin if we get enough dough coming in. Do like and subscribe. Yeah, we're sponsored by the Seasiders podcast. Yeah, do like and subscribe to this video if you're watching on YouTube. Does help us grow and all that jazz. Right, so we're coming back on Thursday with a preview show, Cardiff show. We've got a Cardiff fan on, View from the Ninian, who we first spoke to in 2010. So it's good to be getting those guys back on. And Nick, thanks ever so much. Good to have you back.
It's been a pleasure. It's great to be back.
Thanks, Sean. Hope your accreditation comes back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Purely for piss-taking purposes. Matt again. Matt, get some intel on Kenny, will you? Next time you're at your parents.
I'll do my best, mate. I'll see what I can find out during the week.
And Tim, I love your studio. It looks brilliant. You're looking really young, youthful. Have you lost weight, etc.?
Oh, but before I go on, just a slight change of subject. Can I just congratulate Hull on a good Saturday afternoon out in Preston postcode?
Yes,
I was laughing my head off. I was telling everyone about putting him bottom, Tim.
I was serious with it as well. And, I'm good. I'm glad to see that's where they are after game one.
I listened back to the audio pod of you said I was pissing myself anyway. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thanks, downline. Thanks for watching and all that jazz. And all that said is thanks for being with us and up the pool.
Up the pool.